talking about roller coasters.
Woo! And Dunkirk.
Known as war, known as Dunkirk. We watched Dunkirk.
Are you done, Kirk?
Are you done, Kirk? Yeah, so we just came out this past Saturday. New movie from Christopher Nolan, written and directed.
Who's that?
The guy that did Memento, guy that did the best DC movie trilogy.
What are
those? They don't exist anymore. He did Inception. He
Never
did.
Heard of
it. Did he do Interstellar? I think he did Interstellar too with McConaughey.
I actually haven't seen that.
It's pretty good. Yeah. So Christopher Nolan, who I first saw, Memento was my first movie of his that I saw, and I was like, holy shit. This is like some of his movies where it's like, man, this is kind of dense. Like fucking Inception. I was gonna go Interception.
The first time I saw Memento late, like I'd already seen a few Nolan films, and my buddy that I used to do comedy with, shout out TJ. He was like, "Have you seen Memento?" I'm like, "No," and he was he had a huge DVD collection. He's like,
"Yeah,
you're watching it."
Yeah,
and I'm like, "All right, whatever."
Yeah,
and I got done with it. I was like, "That movie is like that's
crazy.
One of those right up my alley movies."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, super weird."
It's like you take the story from the middle and then you spin it, and it's like because it jumps from past to like just I don't know. It's like the timelines are weird. Some are in color, some are in black, and it fits the story because he can't remember shit. So it's very chopped up.
And it feels very independent too. Like
that was his second film.
It feels super like he didn't have the money.
Well, him and his brother
to do exactly what he wanted to do, but
no, he didn't. He was nothing then.
Yeah,
he was nothing. Batman. When he did Batman was his first huge movie, and then he was able to do like crazy movies that never would have got funded, like Interstellar and Inception. Like you're not gonna fund those movies unless you're the best, number one DC comic book director ever.
Yeah. Be like, I have an idea for a $200 million movie. They're like,
all right,
what superheroes are in it? He's like, none.
And you don't
it's dreams.
Yeah.
And they're like,
and they don't do blockbuster numbers. Like they never have, but they're always well done. He always gets good actors. Good actors want to work with him. He's one of those good, high level directors that's putting out like different kinds of shit.
Another guy never went to director, like film school.
He never went to film school?
Nope.
Yeah, and I don't know if
just watched a video today of the top 10 directors that never went to film school.
Right.
And he was on the list.
Right. Because I don't know if he still works with his brother, but I know like a lot of them. I think maybe during the Batman series they split and his brother started doing something else. But they were kind of like that brother duo, not as directors, I think as writers, screenwriters. But yeah. So
let's talk about Dunkirk.
Yeah, it was.
I liked it.
I liked it too. It's definitely tonally different from. I mean, it's probably tonally or pacing wise, probably closest to It Comes at Night than any of the movies, because we've been seeing a lot of fun movies, action movies, like very like really fun movies. Where this is like stressful.
I was stressed the fuck out.
The
through
score
this movie.
in this fucking film is. I love the score, even though I never want to listen to it again.
No.
But it's like it's the most
Impending
unique.
Doom.
Yeah,
score is
just like
really good.
Every kind of sound that makes you stressed out is in this.
There was a few times where I was like, my hand was on my own throat. Like I was like, what am I choking myself? What am I doing here?
Yeah, super intense, and it's like not very low on dialogue. Very slow.
Little to no dialogue.
So it's like it's very similar, very different movies, but as far as tone and kind of, a lot of the kind of feel of the movie, It Comes at Night kind of, as far as what we've seen recently.
Yeah.
And parts of like War for the Planet of the Apes kind of, because there wasn't a lot of dialogue in that.
No.
There was a lot of intense acting in that, which this is way more about the scenario than the people involved in the scenario, but the people involved are like used to tell the story of what's going on in the scenario.
You're not real. This isn't about any of the characters. This is about
it's not a character
what happened
study
at Dunkirk.
Yeah, it's about,
and it starts from the very rip.
It starts
there's no like setup. It's kind of like they give.
It's very similar in a lot of ways to War for the Planet of the Apes, where you're following. It's a different kind of shot, but you're following a group of army people, soldiers or whatever, like a tracking shot. Different kinds of shots, but very similar. And then it's like shit goes down, and we're in this film, and because it's very like peaceful, kind of slow. In the beginning
Raining
of this one,
flyers,
little pamphlets telling you to get the fuck out because we
have you surrounded.
Yeah. So yeah, it's gorgeous as hell.
Yeah.
Like this, it's like as far as like war films, it doesn't use like Saving Private Ryan used a lot of like stylized filters and shit.
But it also doesn't get as gory as Saving Private Ryan. Like,
you don't really see...
Like, there's not really a lot of blood. You don't see limbs being blown off, even though there's bombs being dropped on people. Even the guy that was shooting up in the beginning and the bomb dropped and you see him kind of get blown into the air.
They just kind of fly out of the way.
But, like, once it's over, you don't see... It's just bodies
you see
on
bodies.
the ground.
Yeah.
It's not like...
It's not gory like...
Not a guy
Saving
picking
Private
up his
Ryan.
own arm and shit on the beach.
You
and
see half a torso crawling across with his intestines out. Yeah, the Saving Private Ryan in this movie, I would not compare them to.
No.
This movie is so much closer to It Comes at Night than Saving Private Ryan. Except for it's a war movie done by a great writer-director. But yeah, so we're probably gonna spoil moments of this. I mean...
There's not.
It's really hard to spoil because there's like I don't know names of fucking anybody.
No,
but we're gonna talk about it, and so you could like listen to this and then go see it, or see it and then listen to this, and it probably won't affect much. But know that we might touch on shit that.
Well, I think us just saying that it's not about the characters, it's about. That's probably the biggest fucking spoiler there was.
Maybe, but that doesn't like ruin plot points.
No,
this isn't a movie that can be spoiled necessarily.
I don't believe you could.
Like saying like, oh, Tom Cruise is the only guy that lives and finds Matt Damon at the end. Like that kind of fucks up Saving Private Ryan. It's like, oh, Matt Damon. First off, Matt Damon's Private Ryan.
Matt Damon.
Yeah, and Tom Hanks. I think he dies towards the end. I think he blows up that bridge. It's kind of like a Terminator moment. And then,
shout out to Miles Dyson.
So it's very much Dunkirk, like war movie. Very little dialogue. Taken from basically 3 different perspectives.
Yes, it's the
but
beach,
following a few different people.
It's the beach, the air, and
the dock. The dock is the beach. The mule.
And then the last one is the
air and the sea.
The cavalry, pretty much.
Where
they call it.
Which if you've seen the trailer, you know that it's like
they're on a beach, they're stuck.
Well, that you see clips of that, but you also see that these regular dudes with sailboats are like going to go out and help them.
Yeah, that's
so you know some of the things that are going on.
And then they also show like some dog fighting, so they do show you kind of everything.
Yeah,
everything. But this movie's shot in 3 different total perspectives.
Yeah,
that weirdly like.
They all intertwine.
They intertwine, but so you might see the same thing 30 minutes later, but you see it from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Which it took us both a minute to catch on what was going on with that.
Yeah, like there was not only just like going from like, oh, we're in the sea and now we're going to the plains.
Yeah, it's
like we're going to the plains, and it mentioned it in the beginning that there was a time difference, but I was like, I don't know. Like, I wasn't keeping track of all that shit. It went from, like, week to day to hour or some shit. And I was like, But then when the movie got going, I saw it's like, oh, this is a different time. Like, jump back in time to a different perspective. But, yeah, and then they all kind of converge towards the end of the movie. So in that way, it's almost like Memento with 3. Instead of just 2 perspectives, it was 3 perspectives.
Yeah, that...
But, yeah, and all the different perspectives... Like you have the pilots where it's just 2 and then 1.
Well, it was 3.
3, yeah. But
the first one you never really got to know the third guy.
Yeah,
he went down. The second guy went down also.
Yeah.
But they're all wearing masks for the most part. You see
Tom Hardy's
face
off the mint.
Yeah,
off the jump.
But they make sure to show him.
Yeah.
But then for the rest of it, it's like
because that's when you fly, you have your unlike movies where they have their masks off. They're like, oh, we're totally cool up here.
I know what you're saying, but like that, like
it was done very like. We don't give a fuck. We're gonna show what happens in these moments of this like not even war, but like this thing that happened during a war.
Yeah.
Like this very like obscure thing where it's not like a crazy battle. It's just it's soldiers. It's the British and French armies and Dutch probably trying to get the fuck out of France. They're trying to get back to England, and the Germans have them pretty much cornered to the beach, to a small section of the beach. Yeah, and you'll see it in the trailer where it's like these gorgeous shots of like this fucking cold ass beach with like sea foam blowing all over it, and then people lined up waiting for their
a
turn.
boat that might or might not show up.
Well, and showing up is fucking not even the start of it. It's like,
can we
how
make
far
it back?
is the boat gonna get? Is it gonna like
Which
so
we
it's
see
like,
a few boats go down.
You see like there's it follows the pilots, it follows the initial character that survives that opening scene.
Yeah, his patrol all gets killed but him.
Yeah.
And he finally...
So it's like, it's just him scraping to survive the whole movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, he like survives this thing, and then he's like put over here and survives that thing, puts over here. It's like a very much like, and he meets people along the way. Some of them survive, some of them don't survive. A lot of people die.
A lot of people die.
Which is like, if you watch like Band of Brothers and shit like that, like it's
war.
Yeah, it's just war as hell.
Yeah.
And this is like the worst situation because they're like trying to get the fuck out. They're all exhausted, and the British are like, "We're first in line. Fuck you all. You can't come on until we're all out of here. So stay here, Frenchies." But yeah, it's like so. And then what was the third one? The third one follows like this kind of grandpa and son,
and one of the son's friends.
Yeah,
they all get on the boat. They were gonna commandeer him, but the grandpa's like, "It's my boat. I'm the captain of this boat."
Yeah.
So he takes off before they can get there real quick.
Yeah.
But he's still going on the mission
because everybody in this part is like with a boat that's good. I guess is the military's, the Navy's commandeering them to go use them because everything's getting blown up. And they need smaller boats to get in closer
to get to the beach
because they only have one. Yeah, so
it's one dock.
There's many reasons why they need them
on one dock.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the third perspective, which out of the three perspectives has like the most like heart to it. Even though we don't really give a fuck, I never really gave a fuck about anybody.
With the officers' dialogue.
Like if we had gotten a little bit more of that aspect, like just a little bit more, like I would have given a fuck when one of the people gets injured. You know, like I was like, when it happened, I was like, okay.
During a lot of the battle scenes, you couldn't. All right, they made a lot of these kids look the same: brown hair, slender build.
Yeah, but you look at people in the military.
I understand,
especially back then.
But I'm saying like there's definitely points in this movie where it's actiony and I'm fucking fully involved in it.
Yeah.
But I don't know who the fuck this. Like, was that French dude, or was that the English dude, or was that the other guy?
Yeah.
That was with them for a minute, but
yeah.
Like who was that?
You're basically like, it's almost like the movie treats the audience like you're a part of this thing.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't know anybody either.
Yeah.
You know, like the dude became friends with Frenchie not knowing he could speak, not knowing, you know, he was French. You know, there was like, so it's like just a scenario where it's like, oh, you're surviving? Let's survive.
You've helped me survive so far.
The guy that we survived together, he's gone, but you're here, so let's go. Let's survive. So it's just like, just trying to, like, every part of this movie is just like survive. And then there's breaks to where it's like the family on the boat, which kind of eases the tension for the most part. It's not
even though the
stressful.
Tension on the boat is slowly building.
Yeah.
Where the tension in the other two parts is nail biting from the second.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, you're on the beach. Well, guess what? They're just fucking flying in and shooting like, the shit and bombing it.
Every time you think you like, I'm finally off the beach, it's like many times.
You get fucked again.
It's like, I'm back on this fucking beach.
The fucking beach again.
With different people that I'm surviving with. Yeah, it's, I mean, there's not a whole, it's hard to go into detail with this movie.
I really can't. Like,
because it's just like, it's really like an experience.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you're, the the plane scenes when you're up in the air with fucking Bane, amazing, gorgeous, not stock footage bullshit. It's like very simple, very clean. They're not trying to do like any, I don't know. It's very like,
it wasn't Top Gun. It was real.
It's just gorgeous. Like, yeah, just treating it with respect. Maybe not real, but at least for the scenes, it looked
like,
great. You know,
even his character, like literally,
yeah.
Like,
and he was smart.
I liked
like,
it.
You got to know some of them.
But
he was smart, and
but
like,
he had no personality. He was just a good pilot that was
like,
the last one left.
how much, like, if you were flying a plane, how many aspects of your personality are coming out while you're just
that's
in
why
battle?
I said it's not Top Gun.
Yeah. It's
because
it's very much a realistic portrayal of these events.
Well,
versus,
like I said when we walked out,
Yeah.
I said that was like a really super badass documentary.
It was, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you could cut this movie up with.
You did a little exposition of
Yeah.
like someone being a narrator being like, and then this was, it's an awesome documentary, and if
Yeah.
but
Which I don't know how accurate it is. It's like
it could be
wild completely. It's like
fabrication.
that old man never lived. There was no kid that was in a newspaper. Bullshit. There's guaranteed.
We're looking at you, Revenant.
Guaranteed. But I don't care. It's just
No,
the
it's
people
fun.
that
Like,
bitch about it. Like they're watching a history show. It's like it's a fucking movie. But guaranteed there's going to be people who's like, yeah, Dunkirk was cool, but it wasn't historically relevant, so...
It wasn't historically
like
accurate.
300.
Yeah.
Like, people complaining about... It's like, you understand
There
what
were
300
monsters.
was?
Did you not see the monsters in there?
Do you understand how stylized that fucking movie is?
It's based on a graphic novel
Yeah.
that
Well,
was based
yeah.
on a historical event.
Yeah, which happened a fuck long time ago, so who knows what happened back then anyway. Yeah, but guaranteed there's going to be people whining and bitching about the historical inaccuracies of Dunkirk.
I went to
Unless
the
it's good.
theater and watched the sequel to 300.
Ugh.
Was so pissed when I left there.
Yeah, but it was. But if you
I knew what it was
marketing
about.
more, it doesn't matter. If you knew marketing more, they marketed it as the studio that brought you 300. What does that tell you?
It was not good.
Nobody involved in the original, because they would have been the director, if anything, the producer. But it's like the studio.
I went balls deep into that story afterwards, and like the History Channel used to run like, "Hey, this is like what really happened." So, and then they kind of told about the sea
everybody
part,
was like
and it's
trying
like,
to hop on the money
and it was
wagon.
like, "Oh, that'd be awesome to see the sea part," and then it was like, "Oh, this
No.
movie's fucking terrible."
Yeah, no, it's just all you have to do is pay attention to the marketing. It's like, why are they marketing the producer? Didn't the director leave? The main actors leave? How? Like, we were watching a bunch of trailers that had like Academy nominated. It's like they'll promote good people that are in it. But when you're like the studio that brought you a
the
cool
producer
fucking movie.
that
Yeah. But this is
All right, let's go through like we can't really spoil it, but let's go through like what were your high points and low points of all three? Like
all three.
Yeah, all three of
the
the
different
points of view.
Points of view. I mean, my favorite part of the movie, aside from like, I almost wish we saw it in IMAX, just because the visuals would have been even better.
Yeah.
And sound probably even louder, which would have been fine. I would have been even more stressed out, because those are the two best parts of this movie.
Yeah.
I think the shining moments is how visually, because it's mostly a visual experience. You're not really very little dialogue, and the sound track is very much like, this is the emotion you're feeling. There's no way with this sound you're going to be calm and cool and like chill with going on.
The score, not
score, yes,
not
yeah,
the
yeah.
soundtrack.
Yeah, score.
There's no real music,
exactly.
and
No,
which
which is fine.
Just
It
another
would have
heads
been
up,
horrible.
There's no fucking comic relief in this shit too. So
No.
if you're expecting like a point of levity,
No. Thankfully, which I think is the perfect thing for this movie, is that the runtime is 146.
it's super. It's just as long as it needs to be.
Yes.
If
Perfect
it would have went
for the
if it would have
pacing,
went 5 more minutes,
like, here's
it
the
would have
thing.
got drawn out.
If this was fucking the Lord of the Rings guy, this would have been a 4-hour long movie.
Yes.
And I would have been asleep.
this would have been
halfway
2
in.
movies, and they would have been 3 hours
Oh my
each.
God. And yeah. And well, yeah. I don't think you're getting Yeah, he would have. What he would have done? It would have been a trilogy, and you would have followed each of the stories separately. He'd be like, fuck art.
That'd have been 4 movies because he'd have put them all together.
And then it'd be like 10 endings. Because he'd show the end of Dunkirk, then the end of the battle, then the end of
he'd show what happened to
it'd be like
Cillian Murphy. He'd show...
It'd be to the end of the Dunkirk thing. Then it'd be like, oh, what happened in that region of the war? And then, oh, what happened at the end of the war? And it's like, oh, what happened at the end of the movie? And it shows him, like, finishing the edit, and it's like this scrolling
then
thing.
Then you cut to the grandpa dying and something. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, what happened? And then there's just a hobbit just in a bed too. It's like, is he in the hospital?
Gandalf walks in and just goes,
smoking weed. Yeah. So my top moments out of the 3, we'll do top and low.
All right.
Clearly, because easily the low moment, which I just thought was like, just how it happened, or I don't know the way it was edited, but it was just like weak as I don't know. It was just okay. Was when the scuffle happens on the boat.
You don't really see what happens to the kid.
And then it cuts to kid laying down in the bottom of the inside of the boat, and then it's like, and you see a pipe there. And it's like, okay, I know what happened. I just assumed.
Why couldn't we have seen that?
I know. Well, it's just like, I think it's very much a movie that didn't want to show you any gore.
What is it rated? PG-13?
Yeah. Because it doesn't show, I mean, it's like a super dramatic movie.
Was Saving Private Ryan an R movie?
I mean, I can
look it up. Because I want to know, because
they got away
with so much fucking
You can get
gore.
away, if there was boobs in Saving Private Ryan, it probably would have gotten R. I mean, it might be R. It should be R.
I would think, but I just, like, that's the only thing I could think of for them not showing that.
But it's a movie that doesn't show you any of that stuff.
Ooh, привет.
Because it doesn't show you any gore. It's not a fucking gore fest movie, you know?
Saving Private Ryan, the top one. R, yeah.
Okay.
All right,
that
makes
sense. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the weakest part, because it was just like, it was, instead of showing us some moment that makes me care about these people, it's just like, it's the reason why they added a kid to The Revenant. It's like, we need a reason to care. These are the sympathetic, kind of just innocent people, aside from all the, the soldier ants that are out there getting killed. It's like, these are kind of the heart of the movie. And it's like, this is supposed to give them more, stakes are involved. And he has to make a choice where it's like to go back. It's like, at no point did I ever think he was going back to save the kid.
No,
it's just like, he is on this thing to go to this place and help these people, which is what the movie's about.
Yeah.
They're not going back, and then it's like, oh, now they're back in England. And it's like,
hope everyone got
so
off.
That was the weakest moment overall, the movie. That whole just scenario was like, okay, it's like, I didn't, it's like, okay, it was just, it was weak. Considering how, like, stressful this whole movie was, like, that moment just was like, bop, bop, oh, no. Favorite moment with them, I mean, it had to have been, man, I'm trying to think. With them, my favorite moment, jeez, there's no real highlights. It's really hard. It's tough to think of highlights. It's a tough one. Well, what would be what would be your low
for the grandpa?
Yeah, and for the family.
I agree with you on the whole. They just
that scenario,
kind of
that
omitted that. It's like,
they didn't show it. They didn't show it,
and then all of a sudden it stops, and you're like, oh, the one kid's laying on the ground.
Even if they showed his head hit the pipe, that scene is not good. Like the scuffle, and then he you don't hear him fall down the stairs.
No, it was just.
It's just like there's a lot of problems with that scene.
What happened?
It's not that they didn't show his head make impact with anything. I didn't care. It could have just been from the floor. He cracked his head open. I don't know. You fall from whatever. You land on a fucking joist or some shit. It's pretty hard. So it's like, I don't know. That I didn't give a shit. He hit his head on something. He's not doing good. But it's like the whole scuffle that led up to it is like,
I think my favorite part of that one was of the grandpa and kid on the boat. It's when the plane crashed.
It's kind of how they just went to work and they're like, let's do this shit.
This was like right after that situation.
Yeah.
And then, but we didn't see it again until like 20 minutes later because we got it on
We went to another
one, which showed us kind of what happened, and then we went back, and it shows that they were the boat trailing.
Yeah.
And that they got up
which
and saved the pilot.
Yeah.
Like last second because he couldn't get his slide open, so they had to crack it with the oar.
Which that's almost blending, because that's two
It's literally
stories
scene
connecting.
to scene.
No, but I know it's like, but it's also it's the moment where this storyline and this storyline
converge.
Yeah. So that is
I
a
liked
cool
that,
moment.
and but I liked the heart of the grandpa where like the kid's like, watch the engine.
Yeah.
And he was like just, and then you
like,
find
no,
out
we gotta
later
go.
that his son, his
Was
other
a pilot,
son, was a pilot.
Which I guess maybe that scene where like they juke, you know, and then that you find out that's how he knew that was going to happen. I kind of like that scene, I guess.
Yeah. That was all right, but I thought that was corny.
Probably this,
but I liked the
scene.
pilot scene.
Yeah, that was more like exposition for like an ability, and maybe some more like, oh, heart. He like I already lost another kid.
Well, and they had just saved like half a fucking ship full of oily.
All right. Yeah, that'd probably be it when they get to that second guy.
Let's go up in the air.
Up in the air, I loved the scene when I think it's the first was that Skydog dog fight?
Dogfight.
Where
Skydogging it.
Yeah.
Just skydogging it around.
There, skydogging it. Is the dog from Half Baked.
Airbud.
He was skydogging.
It was Airbud.
Yeah, but the dog gets high and he can fly, and which is
Killer Bee. Killer.
So it's the scene where they're getting engaged, and one guy's got him on his tail, the other guy's behind
he's on
him,
me, I'm on him.
He's got not that scene. It's the scene where he's set up and he's far left. He's like, on my mark, go left.
Yeah, cut left on
and he's
cut
like,
left on 3,
and he pulls the guy right in front of his thing and takes him out.
You're seeing his view through
his heads up
through
display.
the sight,
through
the heads up display,
like almost first person. I think you're slightly off to over his shoulder, but you're not seeing him at all. It's very much just the heads up display, which is very simplistic. It's not like Top Gun and shit where there's a little
bit of Star Wars in that.
No, I think Star Wars probably knew how planes were, and then
no,
they're
I'm
like,
saying,
oh, we should just.
When they went, he was like going to the heads up, and then he shoots down the hole in the first one, blowing up the Death Star.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he got those visuals from Army footage,
probably.
So it's like Army footage.
I was just saying
it's
that
like this fictional thing that's based on Army footage.
Shot was.
It'd be like if we watched sword fighting and you'd be like, oh, it's like Star Wars. Like, no, it's like fucking sword fighting. It's like, no, it's like World War II shit. But yeah, that was I was like, oh shit, here we go. And it was a quick moment. It's not like a huge setup, but like in that moment, that was probably. And then visually there was a scene. Actually, you know what? The very end, where he's pumping, and that I enjoyed visually. That's an amazing scene because it's very tranquil. Because at the end of the movie, but like audibly, it's very silent. That's probably those two. That moment in that dogfight, and then that end scene, which I don't really want to spoil because I really like that scene.
I do too, and
it was like refreshing. It was almost like
my
cleansing
favorite's
watching
one that I'm not gonna spoil either.
Yeah.
But it was like it was towards the end, but it's right before he does your scene.
Right before the dogfight scene?
Right
before the tranquil scene. Yeah,
he's pumping the thing.
Yeah.
Where they're like, this enemy plane's coming in.
Right. I know what you're talking about.
And like, I'll just leave it at that. It's fun. You're like, oh shit.
It was
circle back around.
I enjoyed that scene too, but it was almost a stretch.
Unbelievable.
Almost a stretch.
No, almost.
No,
it was a full-on stretch.
Listen,
but that was the part that I liked. I still liked it.
I saw a fucking ferry get cut in half in a movie we saw recently that I had to overlook. Which, by the way, I have not heard anybody bring up as a criticism for Spider-Man. Nobody. the fact that a ferry gets cut in half and then it's like, oh, they'll put it together again.
Just pull it back together.
So knowing that, it's like I can, but it's like at the same time, I don't know how high up he was.
Exactly.
So there's that. I'm not a pilot. I'm not gonna. But it's like almost a stretch.
You gotta be able to point
almost
the gun.
a stretch.
It's almost
Almost
it was
a stretch.
Very much stretch, but
Yeah.
I liked it. It was.
But
just,
you could still pull up
because that
You're
was
just gonna
kind of
lose
the
a lot
point of levity.
Yeah.
That was weirdly and throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
The one point of levity.
Yeah. Well,
It wasn't
yeah.
comedic by any means, but it
No.
was one
It
point
was-
of like, oh,
But
shit.
that's kind of how the movie it ends well. It doesn't like the movie is stressful as fuck. And then you get to a point where it's like everything's converging, all the different storylines are converging. They're all it's all coming together, tying up, so and then it ends very I mean, it doesn't necessarily end well. In some aspects it does, in some aspects it doesn't, but it ends very like tranquil,
knowing
beautiful.
how the end of this entire arc would go if this was you know what I'm
like a Michael Bay movie.
yeah, but
or
I'm saying
something.
like we know the ending of World War II.
Yeah, but I just want to say like what happens
saying,
to
like,
that pilot
Yeah.
at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want to say because it's a very tranquil
I
moment.
don't
and
wanna,
then
no,
yeah,
no.
And
That's
then,
why I
like,
didn't want to
yeah,
spoil the
like,
one
there's-
that I
there's-
said before that.
yeah. Or what happens to the kid that we're following? We don't necessarily need to spoil that. That keeps trying to survive. And then as far as the friend, we don't want to spoil that.
Like literally out of like
Grandpa.
hey, this isn't the
So,
movie.
okay,
this
so that's-
isn't the movie that I like
So
the
what
most.
did you do? Your favorite?
Yeah, I did.
Favorite of the plane? Did you
Yeah.
do your worst of the plane? Did I do my worst of the
We
plane?
haven't done
Okay.
the worst of the plane yet.
What's the worst of the plane?
Worst of the plane.
What was your best of the plane?
Best
Oh,
of the-
that moment.
yeah,
I get,
that-
right
the
after the,
other
tranquil
moment,
moment. Yeah.
Or
I
no, it's
enjoyed
right
that one
before
too.
the tranquil moment.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that tranquil moment actually kind of starts just before your moment
Yeah.
and then extends peacefully.
So I don't really have a
ways.
worst part of the plane.
I'm trying to think
honestly.
of the plane. Like, the only real thing... I mean, it's kind of... I mean, the plane part was almost the
That
best
was
part.
and it was also
I love
used
the-
the least.
I really loved
I
the...
feel like it was used the least.
It was
out of
used
all of them.
perfect, but there's not a whole lot you can do. What are you gonna do? He's gonna fucking. There's only a few engagements.
No,
There's already got
it was-
issues.
that's
but
why I
love
said it was perfect.
I
It
love
was-
the math he was doing
Yeah.
to
He was using his watch.
His fucking
His
gas
fuel gauge
gauge got
broke.
busted early, and I mean yeah. See, I mean, probably, which would be a spoiler. And it's not necessarily bad, but it just kind of bummed me out. Was the end, which I don't want to say, but the very end of. We're
so
talking
your
about
favorite
the pilots.
and your least favorite.
They happen
are the
very
same
close.
Scene.
There's a different scene involving fire that happens after my scene, which isn't necessarily part of my scene. I think that's part of, because you light a fire, somebody's gonna see it, but that scene's, and it's not bad, unlike the scene with the family where the kid gets hurt. Like, I just didn't like that scene. This scene I necessarily didn't like. It is kind of a bummer, which is fine because this whole movie's a fucking bummer for the most part.
The beach.
But what's your worst? You don't have any?
I really
just
don't.
like mediocre moment for plane.
Maybe how the third plane in the beginning just goes down and they just lost contact, didn't see it, and then flew over, and it's like, oh yeah, that's our
There
buddy.
it is. Okay. Which is
It's
like the most
again. That's
I get it.
whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
there's not. That's probably.
I didn't have to see that.
Those are definitely my most enjoyable moments throughout
Guy
this movie.
in Mask 3. I didn't care about.
Yeah,
so
which you don't really see. It's just, I think he was the leader of the squad, and he went out first. But yeah, that was okay. All right, so beach, which doesn't always take its soldiers.
Well, it
We'll
goes out on the
retreating
water.
soldiers,
It goes
yeah.
out on the water, but
They do
it's
do
the
find their way
Mole
back.
originally, which is the first ship that's sitting there.
Yeah.
But that's what they called it in the beginning, because they called it air. They called it
the Mole was that.
Or
that
was it
dock,
just the dock?
because they talked about when they were talking about there's a lot of politicking going on, which is almost a different part. It's almost the fourth part, The politics that went on the mole.
That's the beach. I count that.
Yeah, but
all
it has nothing to do with the soldiers.
All the officers.
It's separate from all the
everything.
soldiers, though. That's the thing. It's like there was the guys, the bosses. Then we followed soldiers, which bosses was very minimal. Not a whole lot goes on. It was more like politics of what's going on.
That was the only time you got any exposition is when it was two officers talking, and it was like,
and it was very little.
It was very little.
It's just like,
but it was like, what's going on? Like, they're not going to send us shit because they're saving everything for when it comes to
the rest
our
of the
shore.
war. Yeah.
And they're like, what the fuck? And he's like, well, they sent out civilian ships.
then
and he's like, oh, we're all screwed.
But then it's also like the politics of like, oh, we're getting French are second. And it's like, well, what do they think back home? It's like, oh, they think we're all coming home together. And then like how it changes at the end of the movie.
France.
I know that. But like the politics of where they're getting these boats is that the people okaying the boats thinks that they're fucking getting everybody.
Yeah.
They're not thinking we're just getting the British out of there. They think, oh, we're getting everybody. Well, meanwhile, the reality of the situation is, fuck everybody that's not British. You can't get on this boat, especially the French, which are trying to get the fuck out of there. So it's like politics of kind of the scenario of what's going on. Not more of like plot description, exposition, but very, just like sterile.
But I'm saying that's the only time you really get kind of a grasp of what's going on is when they're talking about it.
Yeah, they kind of, aside from the blurbs in the beginning of the movie.
Besides that, and then besides the old man
pretty much
going,
just
hey,
in
they
it.
sent us here.
Yeah. You just don't know what the fuck's going on.
This has to be fan made because I
think
didn't see
it's
any
from
fucking steamboats.
I think it's from like the original movie because there's an original Dunkirk.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, like back in like
I don't need
the
to know
50s
about
or something.
But
I just happened to see it when I was never mind. So I think it might be some of that. But so my favorite or the
beach.
Beach or just the soldiers. Man. I mean, there's a lot of stressful moments.
I'll tell you mine.
The which, high or low?
My favorite.
Okay, what's your favorite?
Was them trying to get to that injured man to the boat so they can get on it.
So their first attempt.
He like literally found a guy that's
scene.
still alive.
Yeah.
And the dude that he had just seen like fucking burying a guy and kind of helped him a little bit.
Yeah.
Like just grabs the back end of the stretcher.
Yeah.
And they're way behind.
Yeah.
Like, and when you watch it, you're like, oh, they're totally gonna get left.
Yeah.
And they get this dude on board.
Yeah.
And then they just straight up, they're like, hey, get the fuck off.
Yeah.
And so these guys have to get off, but then they kind of like stow away on the side.
I know exactly. And there's a few moments. Was that the end of your moment?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was, well, it kind of went to
it
how
keeps
they
going.
got onto the next boat.
Yeah.
Which they also went down.
There were a lot of moments with them. That scene where they kind of like they're coming off the boat and then they squirrel down under the dock.
I liked that.
Then there's a moment where they're trying to get on a little dinghy, but there's no room in the dinghy, and dude on boat throws a rope that they can hold on to. There was a lot of moments where it's just like they're able to do stuff only because everybody's oblivious to when they're getting on that boat.
Fuck you.
When they're getting on the boat and the Frenchie just stays on top.
Yeah.
And like nobody says anything, even though he's clearly not supposed to be there. When they're filing.
Stop.
And he's
locking me underneath.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
But like all of those moments, because there's a lot of them with them where they just
why
slip
would
away.
you close that
They
door
slip
like
away.
that?
I don't care. None of those moments I
know,
cared about.
but
the fact that
they're all
were
just hitting
so
me now.
easily
I'm like,
to squirrel away.
Yeah.
And like, we just had an argument with these people in the water, and they're like 20 people in a boat, and nobody notices that there's two guys being dragged behind them.
You're like, this isn't easy to row. What's going on?
But those weren't horrible. They were just moments that allow them to, get away. But every time it was just like, somebody's gonna be fucking an asshole around here. Somebody's gonna be like, what is he doing? He just ran out. It's like, we just saw them squirrel under there's two people behind our boat.
The other dude kind of called him out. He's like, where's your buddy? And he's like looking for a way out if something happens. Mm-hmm. Which honestly, it's not what was originally happening, but that's how it ended up.
Yeah, which I'm fine with all of that. It's just all the moments where they just like,
the convenience.
We're invisible right
saving.
now. where it's just moments where they're basically invisible. Just like no one sees the guy leave this huge line of people, and there's just one lady where they're going down into the
She
thing.
looks away for a half second, and he just like walks
and
by
it's
her.
just like everybody in the line didn't see that he's the only one not getting shuffled into the interior of a fucking another ship.
Hey,
So
do you want to
those
go
are the
down
only
underneath
moments.
where we're gonna lock you in from the outside
Yeah.
some way?
Those were kind of my like, but not big moments. It's whatever. My favorite scene. Did you go your favorite?
I want my favorite, and you want your least favorite. So
What
I'll
was
go.
your favorite
I'll
again?
go. My favorite was them squirreling away on the side after they got
them
the dude.
getting the dude to the boat. Yeah,
They got the dude there, and then had to
I
squirrel.
love
off the
that
side.
scene, and then once the squirrel's like, I don't like the scene as much.
Yeah.
And
But then the ship goes down right there.
But then it's like the scene gets better, but it's just like it's very convenient.
Yeah.
It's very convenient a few times in this movie for them to get away. But there's probably other times that were convenient that I didn't. I mean, it's convenient that the dude not only was able to sneak away, but was able to get to the hatch to open it up. You know, that's kind of convenient too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the one guy that conveniently was able to get out of the single file line was also the only guy to do this thing. But when you're in it, it's like I was in it, but it's just looking back, I guess those were. So what's your weakest?
My weakest for the beach, that would have to be like how, it's weird that it connects right to it, but they blew that boat right up at the dock.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why didn't they? It gets in my head. Why wouldn't they just circle back around? Just keep fucking blowing up that dock. Like, there was
The planes?
there was like fucking 50,000 dudes. No one's shooting back.
I don't know, but it's like I don't know.
Like, I guess in my
How
head
they
I was
fought.
like, I don't know.
And
the
if
war
like they
tactics
just
of,
drop all their payload, it's like that's all we got. We got to go back.
we gotta
for
go
more.
back, and
So maybe that's it. I thought that they were pretty inaccurate with their attacks. It's like, I mean, they're flying
It felt
pretty
like there was
close
just some
to,
guy in
like-
the back, like,
yeah, I don't. It's like I see it. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna close. 5, 3, 2. Did I get it? I don't know. Yeah. But that's more enemy problem rather than. But I guess it takes part in the beach, or the soldiers. All right.
I think
That
we
was
went-
it?
Yeah, we went through it. Go watch this movie.
Well, what was my favorite? I don't know my favorite for the
beach?
the soldier people. Another problem I had, motherfucker kept trying to take a shit, and then all of a sudden the shit was not an issue.
He never took the shit.
He tried twice, and then it's all of a sudden, let's take this fucking injured dude onto the boat.
Never took the shit.
And then when he got to the boat and he was like going to sit down, I was like, is he going to take a shit on the boat? It's like, I kept wondering when he's going to take this shit. I mean, that would be important, unless he just shit himself. You know?
I
But
would
it's like,
assume at that point he
there were two
probably had
moments
to
in the
have shit
beginning of the
himself.
movie where it's just like, I got to shit. And then shit goes down. And then I got to shit again.
Well,
Somebody's getting buried.
Yeah, that would. I got to
It's a little
shit.
rude. I shouldn't be
Can
shitting
I
next to
not
it.
shit?
Yeah.
But in hindsight,
I don't know. It just seemed like it was something that was
kind of
part of
shitting
the story.
during
It was like
grave
at some
robbery.
point it's like adding tension for this
Yeah.
guy because he keeps needing to shit, and at some point he's gonna get somewhere. He's just gonna
There's
be,
nothing worse than having to shit
Yeah.
and having stressful shit happen to you.
Yeah, exactly. It's very but that's my favorite.
I also liked on the beach where it was where they went and got in the boat and were waiting for the tide. Like I kind of liked that.
Right.
Like how that was another one I liked for the beach.
Yeah. That was an interesting scene.
Especially when they started getting shot up.
Yeah. I guess maybe the scene where Frenchie saves everybody.
Yeah.
That was a cool scene. Like
It
just
was.
how it happened.
Yeah.
And he's ready to go, is in the right place, and it's like even they when he told him inside, and he's like, "Where's your friend?" He's like, "Oh, he's doesn't want to be
Yeah,
fucking
that's why
in
I
here."
mentioned that earlier.
And they go
well,
like,
you said he's
but
looking for
what,
the best.
What do they do? They go right to the door. They're
Yeah.
like, "Let's get the fuck out of this crowd and let's get right by the exit in case shit goes down." So that was a cool scene. I enjoyed that scene. Yeah. So that was Dunkirk.
What do you give it out of 10?
I mean, it hurts the movie that it's not really rewatchable. Like, I watched it, I enjoyed it. Like, it's beautiful. It's a great film. People should watch it. But it's not like Baby Driver, where it's like I immediately want to watch it again.
Yeah.
Like, I'm good. I'll probably revisit it in like 10 years.
And that's the part about the 3 different perspectives.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of almost Pulp Fiction up, but they play it in order, but just in
Or
different
Memento.
orders. Or Memento.
But
yeah. So I wish
or Inception.
I wish I wanted to rewatch it.
I mean, if it
But-
comes on Netflix or something like that, I'd probably put it on. Like, just on in the background.
Oh,
because
you'd
it's
be
like
hard pressed to just sit there and pay attention to the whole thing.
Yeah,
knowing
it's-
how it went.
Unless I wanted to watch
To
it
break
on an
it down.
edible or something like that,
Yeah,
and
I
just
guess-
get like see how stressed
You
out
just-
I could get.
Break it down in your head too. At
Well,
least
yeah.
better.
Well, it's like I don't know. I think if I was on it, because I remember
Knowing now that it jumps around,
yeah,
I could have been totally confused with the early parts of it because it may have been a different part that you know what I'm saying?
there were times
Because it just
Where
seamlessly flashed into the net, into like it was
Yeah,
like
that-
okay,
the reason it can the one thought
we're
I
an hour
had
back.
that
We're
was
an hour
confused.
ahead.
There were moments where I'm like, is Tom Hardy his son? And it's like there's no way. Like, he's too intertwined. Like, they picked up his guy, so it's like it can't be his son.
No,
but there were
because it's-
moments where I was like, because it was doing
Yeah.
that, and I was like, and I remember there being jumps. And it's like, but how far? Like, maybe his son just died, and it was part of this
Until
an early
the plane
thing.
went down and they got that
and then
dude.
it tied
and
it
you're like,
together.
okay.
Yeah. But there was a moment where I was like, are they mind fucking me right now? Because that doesn't fit very well. They
Am I
pounded
being
that puzzle
incepted?
piece. Yeah, exactly. I mean, even in Interstellar is like, he has dense movies. He doesn't do anything that's like, I mean, the Batman movies are probably the closest thing to it's like, here you go.
Out of 10.
I mean, I give it like a solid, probably like a 9, I guess,
Yeah,
or a
like
high 8.
Yeah, it was like an 8.7 for
I
me.
mean, it'd probably be better if it was.
I shouldn't even say I'm gonna go 8.3 because I liked it. I mean, that's super high anyway.
Sure.
But I mean, again, no character development, even though that's part of the
Not
movie.
every
it's
movie
fine.
needs
It doesn't
to have
need
that. It's about.
But it was
It's a movie about.
This was
it's not about characters.
the Battle of Dunkirk or whatever
Yeah.
this is actually
The
called.
scenario.
The scenario of Dunkirk.
Yeah.
So in that way, I love it. But 8.3 is what I'm going to give
Sure.
it. Like I think it's.
Yeah.
You should definitely go watch it.
I definitely like if it had like.
I
all
would
they
watch
had to
this in the
do-
theater.
All they had to do, I would almost recommend going to watch IMAX. We didn't watch it IMAX. It was
I don't
beautiful.
think it
and
was optional. IMAX.
Yeah, there was IMAX available. I was like, I
There.
don't know if I want to pay it. Yeah, they have IMAX there.
No, I
it's
know they have
3D.
IMAX there, but I'm saying
It
like,
was showing there
Okay.
in IMAX. Yeah.
okay, because a lot of times they'll just have movies at that theater and they're not the IMAX.
They usually, I mean, it's usually 3D. It's usually a superhero movie that's post-converted to IMAX.
I
Like,
would be sure that
it was-
Spider-Man is still playing in their IMAX right now.
No. I mean, 3D. I don't even know. No. The movies don't hold
We are
on, man. That was 2 weeks
We
ago.
are really on a fucking good run of movies, though.
I think it's going to start dropping off. I
Probably
haven't heard of any.
4 in a row.
Yeah, I don't know what's. I'm sure there's something else
I
coming
still
out.
can't wait for Thor Ragnarok coming up.
That's
and I know-
winter though.
That's November.